All right, so good morning, the standard crew and some new ones going on. Welcome to Self Growth Saturday. So here we go. This is the journey we've been on. It's been a few months, summer months. Skip, as usual, my friend and brother. Thank you for covering down. I'll actually do that a couple more times in the next couple as well. But the law of the cake, I heard it was awesome. I know it was awesome because you and I talked about it the Friday before you did, so I appreciate that. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna go back to really what's my foundational marquee stuff on real, REAL. And today we're gonna start with the R of reject passivity. Right? I've been talking this week with some folks about having a sense of urgency. We've been hearing on Zoom calls on, hey, how do you kickstart? How do you restart? How do you get this going? Well, the key thing is to reject passivity. Okay, and we're going to see that in different ways this morning. Um, as as we remember, growth is about increasing our natural development. Okay, in size and substance. Why? Because we can't give what we don't have. Okay, we can't give what we don't have, and so God's blessed me with experiences and blessings and some just ways of doing things, and I just want to share. I want to be a river that feeds you. So here we go. Here's what the overall real concept is all about. It's about rejecting passivity, expecting a greater reward from God, because that deals with my faith. Accept responsibility and lead courageously. Now, the history for me on this is the concept that I used and I still use to raise my sons to be real men. But you can tie real to anything. You tie being real man, real woman, real husband, real wife, um, real real boss, right? Real leader, right? A real leader rejects passivity, expects a great reward, accepts responsibility, and leads courageously. So we're gonna, in the next about 6 to 8 weeks, we're gonna dive deep into each of these and really see what comes out of it. And hopefully it spurs your minds, your thoughts. Some of this stuff, some of y'all have already heard me talk about, but maybe there's a certain aspect of your life right now that you're going through that it might jog your memory, maybe help you on some things. And so we'll go through that. All right, so rejecting passivity. Let's start with self-leadership. All right, so I'm really about self-care and self-leadership, and a lot of people will think that that's selfish and not right. You get about others. It's like, yes, I do, but let me tell you, I can't give what I don't have, so I have to take care of myself first. So why is passivity so bad, there, Ryan? Why do you think passivity is so bad?
Well, in this context, that is the epitome of life by default, right? If we're going to actually embrace a life by design, we can't, that won't happen if we're living by virtue of passivity. We have to live intentionally, on purpose, proactively. And so, yeah, I don't think people are going to really be able to build a legacy or create a life by design or quite frankly, maximize their quality of life if they're only living by virtue of reactiveness or passivity. So
yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I love the word intentionality that you use. That's right. It's being intentional, deliberate. Ain't nothing happens by chance. Okay? If you want to be successful in life, it isn't just going to happen. You got to get after it. The compounding effect works both ways. Okay? If you want it to work for success, you have to start, be consistent, and it takes time. I was on a Zoom with Ryan and Al yesterday, and that's what he said. That compounding effect factor of T, the T is time, right? It's not going to happen overnight, but you have to start. Conversely, if you don't do anything, that compounding effect goes the other way, right? It can go the negative way, or if you're not doing the right things, right? But we're not going to focus too much on the doing because rejecting passivity is about the being and who you were created to be. Okay, so Alan, tell me what you think. What does passivity do to families, organizations, and really nations?
Well, I think it fosters a sort of a mindset of average. I believe that you sort of get get settled in. It's like, you know, if you're going to be passive on, and when I look at the word passivity and I think about how it applies to me, and I read the rest of this, it's not necessarily passivity and sort of procrastination and all these things that allow you not to move the needle forward sort of fall into the same basket of badness, if you will. And it just keeps you from moving the needle forward on your life. And like you just said, if you can't get it for yourself, you're certainly not going to get it for anybody else. And so the domino effect of passivity for me would be, if I'm not getting it for myself, if I'm not leading by example, if I'm not going all in when I'm going all in, then I'll never be able to pay forward anything of worth to anyone else. So basically, it's a very destructive mechanism that is going to keep you from realizing any of the gains and goals that you may think that you have set up for your life. Because if you're going to be passive about it, you only think that you have those things set up. You don't haven't actually built a foundation of belief that where you know you're going to get those things done.
I have to shift inside because somebody decided to start mowing the lawn all of a sudden.
The nerve of some people.
Come on, man. Wait, hold on just a second.
So hopefully you caught all that, because that was from the heart, and I doubt I could repeat it in the same way.
No, it's recording. You're good. No, thanks for sharing that. You're absolutely right. I mean, and think of it. It's not just your life. It's those that you touch. It's the organizations you touch. It's our country. It's the world. I mean, it just compounds over and over again. So, Rebecca, would you be willing to share with us how you have combated passivity in your life here recently?
How I've been so I think the thing that I've done is I've started to take charge of my life and not just letting my life happen to me. Because I think with passivity, we just let our life happen to us, and we get mad about what's happened, and then we get into this victim mentality, when in essence, I've realized that I have more control than I thought I did. So like I was, I've had a weight issue, and I'm just like, well, I'm just fat. That's just how it is. But it's not. So I took control of that, and instead of being passive about it, I'm now going to the gym. I have a personal trainer. I knew my mindset wasn't right. So I've now taken control of that, and I have a coach for that. And I'm tired of my finances, and I've been passive about my finances. I'm with the TradeWise community and Forex. So I think with being passive, you just let life happen to you, and then you get mad about it, and you just become a victim. And that's just not where I want to be. I don't want to be a victim. I want to show a better example to my daughter that you can take control and make changes in your life that will benefit yourself and those around you.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I'm really proud of you for doing that, right? And look, you are becoming a world-class performer, right? One of the characteristics of world-class performers is they seek out coaches and mentors, and that's what you are doing. So that's awesome that you're doing that. Keep at it. Just remember, it's going to take time, right?
Yeah.
Just stay at it. One day at a time, and don't stop. Just keep pumping that well till that water keeps gushing out. And it's never going to be easy. It's just going to be easier as your acumen grows, as your knowledge grows, as your wisdom grows. Awesome. Thank you. And so, so what can you do for self to reject passivity? Well, a few things that I've mentioned plenty of times to folks on this forum is you got to know your why. Why do you exist? Who are you? Right? Look. We're all persons of faith here, so who does God say you are? Right? Reflect on that. Who does God say you are? And write that down. Right? For me, that answer is Judges 6:12. He says, mighty man of valor. right? You mighty man of valor. So I know God sees me as a mighty man of valor, and I have to remember that. I have to act that way. I have to be that way. And additionally, I'm a son of the king. Hello? Not royalty here. So we gotta act that way, right? We gotta act that way. And just be who we're get to be. But if you don't have your why written down, why do you exist? Then you're never gonna be able to fully reject passivity and live the life you were created to live. Um, the next thing is your core values and your SWOT analysis. What do you value most? I want to challenge you to write down your top 4 or 5 core values if you haven't yet, and define them in your own words. Because those core values are the litmus test for your decision making. They should be the guardrails of your life as you're making tough decisions, right? And then your SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is really about, hey, let's just be honest with yourself. What are your strengths? So that you can pour into the organization and the community where you are best suited. What are your weaknesses? So you know where your gaps are. What are your opportunities? What do you see in the future, the next 6, 12, 18 months that you want to go after? And then what are your threats, right? What can derail those opportunities? So your core values and your strengths will enable those opportunities, but your weaknesses and threats can derail your opportunities, okay? And if you're not aware of them, if you don't have them written down, you're not going to know that they're there. And either you're not going to fully utilize them because you're really good at that, or you're not going to see the pitfalls that are coming and you're going to fall right into them, okay? And then from there, just again, something that you've heard me talk plenty about is disciplined habits, okay? To reject passivity and self, you got to have disciplined habit. Hey, look, success is boring. Success is boring, okay? It might seem even mundane, but just you have to figure out what you have to do on a daily basis. For me, it seems boring, but every morning I get up, I do my jam time. I gotta have my Jesus and me time. I gotta have that time. I gotta have help from Jesus before I can deal with people that I'm coaching, right? And then I get my workout on. And I'm not staying in the gym all long hours. I hit it and quit it. I just knock it out, but I know I have to do it. And then I do a little bit of journaling and get my mind straight and my calendar straight in my journal before I get after the day, right? And before the day's over, I do some reading and reflecting to close out the day. If nothing else, if I don't do anything else on a daily basis, I do those 4 things. And yes, they can seem boring, mundane. I'm so boring, I eat the same stuff just about every day. My go-to breakfast, rice cake, peanut butter, banana. Boom, done. And of course, I gotta have my coffee too, right? I don't waste time on figuring out all kinds of things to eat. I eat rice cake, peanut butter, banana. Knock it out. Okay, questions on rejecting passivity with regards to self-leadership. Any comments anybody might want to add? Ryan,
Hey man, I love that you brought up that success is boring and that routine. You know, a lot of the top performers in the world, they've identified the significance of a routine, so much so that, like, you know, a lot of the top CEOs literally buy 7 of the same shirt. They have like 5 of the same suit, like literally, because they apply their energy to the places that matter most and don't put a lot of energy into trying to make things that don't need to be unique each day. Their creative genius goes to the places that align with their vision, that align with, you know, their core values. And so I love that you brought that up, man. I'm very much the same way. I'm a person of routine, a person of habit in the areas that matter, because I know that there's only so much mental horsepower and emotional horsepower and internal energy that I have on a daily basis. And I want that to go to the things that matter most. So I love that you shared that.
No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And you're absolutely right. Some people think, oh, well, how can you just pick the same stuff to wear every day? Because I'm not worried about what I'm wearing every day. My better concern is what I'm putting in my mind and my heart and myself that I can share with others. Right now, I'm not going to put on distracting stuff either, right? But Lori makes fun of me because she's like, how are you wearing that stuff all the time? It's like, because it's easy. I've got these rod and reel shirts that are I can't remember what the material is, but I've got 5 colors, Monday through Friday, and I've got 4 or 5 shirts that I wear during the summer. That's it. When I started my executive coaching stuff, Harder told me all you need is 4 color suits, and you can make all the combinations you need: black, blue, gray, and brown. That's all you need. You can make all the other combinations off of that. So that's what I got. So all right, great. Skip, what you got, my friend?
So along these lines, I posted something on the chat. Some of these things, if we don't have a full picture of this, can be routine and mundane and in and of itself, but we have to keep the eyes on the prize, so to speak. So I kind of put a little recipe there of what successful people do, and why they're able to repeat and repeat and repeat is because this repeat cycle, there's other things going on. They remember what their dream or vision is. They remember how excited they were when it was birthed, and how excited they will be at the reward and completion of this dream and vision. And then they find a way to sustain those two, sustain the dream, sustain the emotion to it. And that routine is you get the energy. You're not just doing it just to do it. You're doing it because you have that vision, and you started almost, if you will, with the end in mind. So it is from the outside, it looks mundane, looks repetitive and so on, but internally there's a lot going on, and that's why people can sustain things for a long time. So just wanted to interject that.
No, I really appreciate that, because you're absolutely right. It's like, Lori, one of the things Lori told me when I was going to retire out of the military is like, hey, when you retire, you're going to let yourself go, like physically. I was like, really? Like, really? Like, no, I've got it so drilled in me that I'll get up, I do my quiet time, I work out, and I just do it. It's just do it. Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Skip. Really appreciate it. Okay, so now let's look at reject passivity when we're leading others. Okay, when we're leading others. So, let me see who else is on here. Hey, Mark Williams. Why is passivity so bad when we're leading others?
It's interesting that this pops up right after this, right? Because what I was going to say about the last thing was, some people can make a decision and quit cold turkey and start their new habit. But here's the crazy thing is that whenever you decide to do something that's right and that's good for you, you're always going to have some opposition in some form or fashion from your environment. One of the crazy things about this, is that we make excuses about our environment, right? We're like, well, I'll do this when the conditions are right, when this person does this, when that person does that. The only chance you really have of changing the environment is if you decide to change you and let the environment adapt to you. Right. And so when you're talking about passivity when leading others, is if you want the situation to change, if you want those people around you to change, the best way to change your situation or the people around you is by changing yourself. You cannot be passive. And I'm more on this on myself right now than ever, because I need to make substantial changes. Got to make substantial changes in my priorities. And, you know, I got a lifetime of relationships of people who are wondering why I'm different than the way I was before.
Okay. For
Way it
sharing that.
rolls.
Appreciate your transparency and thank you for the courage to say that, right? So, but you're absolutely right. So now you're self-aware. Now you got to self-manage, right? And because we can be all aware and know what's going on, but if we don't do anything to manage that and get after that, then forget about it. It's not going to work. But it goes back to that why. Who were you created to be? Why were you created? Who does God say you are? Right? Who do you want to be? And then the rest will follow. Then the doing will follow. Unfortunately, Brian, Skip, and I have been having these conversations, and it's like, you know, unfortunately, what we start, especially in business, is like, oh, tell me what to do. Tell me what I have to do. Tell me the 7 steps or 5 steps or whatever program that I got to do. And it's like, hey, look, we'll get to that, but until we get to this being and we understand that being, there's no transformation that's going to happen to develop the doing, right? You have to transform the being before you can develop the doing, right? Write down, you got to transform the being in order to develop the doing, and then it will follow. Because if not, it'll just be a house of cards, and you'll do it for a while, and then bloop, then you'll tank, because there's no purpose behind it. There's no calling behind it. Okay, the purpose and the calling of being will sustain you through the valley, will sustain you through the storms, because you see the prize, just like Skip was talking. You see that prize, you remember that reward, you try the emotion to it, you remember that's what I'm trying to do. That's who I'm doing it for, and then you're sustained that way. All right. So really, again, on rejecting passivity with leading others, it's about engaged leadership. Okay, if we're all going to be, you know, if we're going to build a business, if we're going to be affiliates in whatever business it be, it might not just be this one, might be some other ones. We have to engage our team. So how can you best engage your team? How can you be an engaged leader and reject that passivity? Help them out, help them figure out their why or their being, so that all together you can get to your doing together. Okay, and so for the rest of the time, I'm going to focus on what you can do for others to reject passivity through defining leadership and management. And then the formula I've used for over 25 years is the 4 principles of leadership on the how and the what. All right, so how do you define leadership? Sean Fields, talk to me. Come on, Sean, yeah. There you are. You're still on mute. There you go.
Define leadership.
Yep.
The art of moving down a path and gathering a group of people that are actually paying attention to what you're doing and having a desire to follow.
This lawnmower guy keeps following me, and I'm on nerves. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You said the art. I like that. You know, but and what I've learned over the years is that leadership is an art and a science, right? To know which one to apply and how to apply it. So the definition I've used for years, and thanks for sharing that, Sean, I really appreciate it, is that leadership, the Army's definition of leadership, which I obviously used for many years, is the process of influencing people to accomplish the mission by purpose, motivation, and direction while improving the organization, right? It's kind of a little long-winded, but it was ingrained in me for 25 years, so I can just, it's the process. It's about influence. And you're absolutely right, Mark Williams. I mean, that's what John Maxwell teaches, right? Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Yeah. So how do you know if you're a leader? Jonathan Dunn, what do you think?
Whether you've influenced people or not. whether you've influenced people or.
Okay, that's a great way to put it. Is leadership about age? Does it matter if you have number?
Sorry, repeat that. You broke up here.
Go ahead. Does leadership have anything to do with age?
No.
Okay. What about a position in the organization, Kenny Rojas? What do you think? Does leadership have anything to do with leadership or position in the organization?
None whatsoever. Leadership is the ability to clearly convey your position and your mindset to another, so that that person clearly understands your goal and decides whether they want to follow you or not. It's being able to have the ability to clearly, and that's the emphasis on here, state your actions and your motives and the benefit and purpose for others.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. So this is how I defined leadership as a 23-year-old. Okay. I was a first lieutenant in Korea. I'm the guy in the middle there, responsible for those 42 soldiers around me. We were 18 kilometers from the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. I was responsible for their lives, training, and welfare. And, at 23, did I tell them what to do? Sure, by virtue of rank and position. Would it have been effective? Depending on how I communicated it, right? So I had to define leadership in my own way, be who I was created to be. And luckily I had Smoke Cavazos there next to me, to the right. He was my right-hand man. At the time, I had only been in the Army maybe a year and a half. He had been in the Army for 12 years already. And to this day, he is still a dear friend of mine. In fact, my family and kids call him Smoke because he had such an impact on my life. He truly defined leadership for me in Army leadership and experience, and how to lead soldiers effectively and properly in the right way. So you just have to ask yourself, hey, how do you define leadership? How are you defining leadership? And how do you want to do that? Okay. So now management. Let's talk about management, right? And I tell you, I've had so many conversations on the difference between leadership and management. Okay, leadership is not management. Okay, leadership is not management. So, what do you think management is, Rebecca?
So I would say that in this realm, management is just managing myself and showing an example of what we're supposed to be doing. Because like in management in the corporate realm, I would be managing their tasks, managing what they're supposed to do, managing, what their job is supposed to look like. But, everybody in this realm, they're entrepreneurs, they're individuals. So I need to show manage of myself. I need to show the disciplines, the routines, the things that I'm supposed to be doing to give them an example of management for them and their business, and maybe where their vision is leading them. Because sometimes maybe the things that are leading me, driving me, might be different in how I'm managing my life. Because like I'm a homeschooler, not everybody is a homeschooler, so I have to manage things a certain way based on my family and what we have going on. But if I show them kind of an example of what to do, then they can manage themselves.
Yeah. No, great. Thanks for sharing that. And you stuck to the right areas, right? You manage systems and tasks. You lead people.
Yeah.
You lead people, you manage systems. Okay. So think of the people in your organization, in your downline that you are leading. How do you lead them? You figure out who they need to be, who they were created to be. You manage the system, right? Your back office. How many prospects are you reaching out on a daily, weekly basis? When are the Zooms? How do you schedule the Zooms? Things like that that you manage. You don't manage people. Okay. Stephen Covey said it right down there in that quote. It's like millennials, especially, he said this specifically about millennials. They don't want to be managed, they want to be led. People don't need to be managed, they need to be led. And it's up to you to provide that leadership, that engaged leadership. Okay. If you Google management, you're going to get about 10.4 billion search results on management. So what is the takeaway here? Hey, engaged leaders can make a difference. Okay. Engaged leaders reject passivity. They must learn to understand that whether it's the followers or downline have behaviors, tendencies, and passions, and they have to figure those out, and they have to factor those things into leading them. Okay, leadership directs, guides, and motivates, and if that's the competitive advantage. Okay, for some of you that have been in the network marketing realm way longer than I have, we've had these discussions. Like in network marketing, a lot of people think that leadership equates or correlates to volume. That's not the case. You manage volume, right? You can get a paycheck for volume, yes, but you're never going to have the hearts of the people if you don't lead them effectively. Okay. All right. So the last part here is the 4 principles. Okay. Here's 4 principles that I've used over 25 years of leadership. It's just this is just a way. I've exercised them, I've refined them, I've tried them through marriage, raising mighty men of valor, combat tours around the world, and they transcend all my life for me, and I hope that they'll resonate with you as we talk through them. Okay, so number 1 is love people, use things. Okay, love people, use things, not the other way around. Okay, you don't use people and love things. All right. So in my last unit in the Army, I had about 40 folks on my staff that I was responsible for. And our main mission was to plan, rehearse, and execute the evacuation of 500,000 Americans off the Korean Peninsula in case of war. And we got very close to that at some point, but luckily we never had to really execute that. And so what I really wanted to do was, there was South Korean nationals, there was Anglos, Hispanics, young, older, and our motto was row well and win. When most organizations in the Army was roll well and live. Okay, off the Ben-Hur movie. How many of you have seen Ben-Hur? Anybody? Come on. Okay.
Yuppers.
What's that, Skip?
Yes, sir. Ben-Hur.
Yeah, right. So in the scene when when they're in the ship and the slaves, Ben-Hur's they're rowing, and the centurion's like, if you row well, you will live. If not, you will die. Well, the Army takes that moniker and puts it on planners because they're always looking it out in the basements and secret squirrel places, and row well and live. Well, I didn't want to think that way. Okay, I didn't want my folks to see themselves as slaves to the machine, but I wanted to try something different because this was the most intelligent, senior, and diverse group I had ever led. And so I wanted to love them in a different way because love is the most excellent way, right? So I focused more on touching their hearts versus their minds. I focused on their being versus their doing. And when they and their families arrived in Korea, I would go have breakfast with them, get to know them, ask their spouse, hey, do you need anything? Let them know, give them expectations of the operational tempo that we had. And in the end, almost on the brink of war, we did roll well and together, and we won. We run in life, we run in marriages and relationships and family, and thank God that we won because we didn't have to go to war with North Korea. We were ready, and we were going to put a whooping on them, but I'm thankful that we didn't have to go there. So that's the first one. Love people, use things. Number two, as you can see there, is pursue excellence, not perfection. Excellence, not perfection. So Nehemiah, if you ever read the story of Nehemiah and the building of the wall in 52 days, they focused on excellence in each of their parts of the wall. Okay. They didn't focus on doing everything. They focused on their part of the wall. And oh, by the way, it was a little more, and they had some impetus because the part of the wall they were building was where they lived. Because at that point, people lived on the wall. And that way, Nehemiah got to get them together and pursue that excellence. And the wall was built in just amazing record time. Another story I'll tell you is, my high school, college, and football glory days, and how it transcended to my career as a colonel in the Army. And I was raised in Texas, and in Texas, high school football is king, especially 5A Texas football. And I went to a 5A high school, was a powerhouse in Central Texas. And my junior year, I was 8th on the depth charts for the starting position as defensive end. Now, I was a lot bigger then, but I was going for the defensive end position. And spring training, I had to pursue excellence. I had to be in the weight room, had to watch the film. I had to pick on techniques faster because those linemen were much bigger than I was. Even in college, I was a 220-pound defensive end going against 300-plus pound linemen playing football, but I pursued excellence. I rejected passivity, pursued excellence, and I got after it. In high school, I started my senior year. Through that pursuit excellence, I was one of the starting defensive ends on a state championship high school football team. I got a scholarship to go play football for 2 years. In college, I was leading sacks for the first 2 seasons because I pursued that excellence. But then I took that mantra and that attitude into the Army, and it allowed me to raise the rank through the ranks fast and had a successful 25-year career. So what does this mean for you? Find your part of the wall and pursue excellence in each area. You want to have the influence as a leader, pursue excellence in every area of your life. Build that type of trust with your downlines, with your peers, with others around you, right? Don't let the rigidity of an organizational chart hold you back. And don't forget that this applies to all areas of your life. All right, so love people and use things. Number 2 is pursue excellence, not perfection. And then number 3 is relationships must have the highest priority. And look, nothing's ever is worth losing a relationship over. And Jesus even tells us in the Great Commandment that, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. Okay? Love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's what you're supposed to do, right? That's about relationships. If you look at the 10 Commandments, the first 4 commandments are your relationship with God, okay? Then there's the pivot commandment of the Sabbath, and then the other ones are all about relationship with others. That's why the great commandments: love God, love people, right? Relationships must have the highest priority in your life. Okay, for me, it's God, my wife, my sons, then everybody else. Okay, I love y'all, but y'all won't ever be higher than number 4, right? I tell my sons, hey, you're never gonna be higher than number 3, but guess what? You're on the medal stand. You made it. You got a bronze, right? So, but remember that Zig Ziglar used to say, is like, if you help enough people get what they want, you can get everything you want through relationships, value-added relationships. How can you help someone? How can you add value to them and just make that a priority? Relationships over tasks. Okay, God does not expect me to be excellent in all things. He does expect excellent in my relationships. Right? And then the last thing is keep the fire burning. Okay, what sets your soul on fire? In the Hebrew history, the priests had to keep the fire burning. Okay, the consuming fire was a reminder of the sacrifice that they had to make daily for a cause greater than themselves. to lay it down at the altar and let it set their souls on fire. Okay? For the men, what sets your soul on fire? For the ladies, what makes your heart sing? Write it down. Ensure it is others focused and greater than yourself. And then when you figure that out, fearlessly pursue that which sets your soul on fire. Do not settle. Do not settle. Don't settle in your life, in your hobbies, in your future hopes and dreams, in your life by design, in your marriages, in your parenting. Don't settle or let the fire go out. You have to keep the fire going. Okay? So for me, this is a way that has worked for me over 25 years plus. It's love people and use things. Pursue excellence, not perfection. Relationships must have the highest priority, and you have to keep the fire burning. I want to be all used up until God returns or calls me home. Ain't no retirement, okay? We're just going to refire into different areas of life and different things that we have to do. God's given me too much just to sit around doing nothing and retire and be taken out of service. It won't happen. All right. So for you, what does that mean for you? What's the challenge here for you today? Right? What do you need to stop doing immediately to reject passivity in yourself? What do you need to do to help your teammates, right? And see for them to and help them see how they can reject passivity. Are you leading or managing your team, your downline, this organization, this community of leaders? What is your part? All right. What are your questions? Thoughts, ideas?
So, Luis, I want to just point something out that I love what you did there. And maybe it was just a divine download. Maybe it was very intentional, because I know you do very few things haphazardly. You're one of the most intentional people I've ever met. But I want to make sure everybody else didn't miss this. We focused today on reject passivity. And if you'll notice that Luis culminated this last point about keep the fire burning with don't settle. Did you guys catch that? That creates the entire loop, the full circle back to reject passivity. Don't settle. And I want to just, give a little shout out to Rebecca. I love what you shared earlier, Rebecca, about the fact that passivity is a victim mentality. That is so profound, and I'm so proud of you for just embracing that. Man, that is so spot on. There's so much wisdom in that one statement you made, that not rejecting passivity is the same as accepting it, which is the same as adopting a victim mentality. Gosh, that was so good, Rebecca. And then a couple of comments that came through the chat that I just want to make sure that nobody misses these. There was a couple of really amazing things that came through the chat. I love that Jonathan Dunn said management is a title, leadership doesn't need a title. That's so good, Jonathan. My gosh. Another really
Can I jump on that one? Can I jump on that one, Jonathan?
Yeah.
I think you're saying that. It's, hey, look, we should not be seeking the titles. We should be seeking a towel. Okay? Jesus did not come with a title. He took the towel and he washed the feet of his disciples. All right. So are you grabbing for a title, or are you grabbing for a towel to be a servant? Any other thoughts, ideas? Was this useful for you today?
So, hey, there was one more that Skip had also put in the chat that I loved, and he wrote, management oversees the human doing, leadership oversees the human being.
Love it. Love it. Deep.
So good.
Love it. All righty.
I always think you're going to meet expectations, Louis. Here's the truth. You always exceed them.
I appreciate
And, I've been listening to teaching for a long time myself, and I love the way that you're able to just bring it together into a concise way. You know, one of the things that I can honestly say is at my age, I wish I would have known some of the things that I know now 10, 15 years ago, but I'm not even wasting time regretting that. I'm going for the change now. And that's what we have to tell everybody. The truth of the matter is not everybody's going to reach 60. Maybe not everybody's going to reach 50. There's no time like the present, not just because of our opportunity or because of what's going on in the world, but actually the truth of the matter is we don't know whether we have tomorrow or not. And everything that he said is so spot on to changing one day at a time. You know, that's what we got to do. We get overwhelmed easily. One day at a time, keep 1%ing or whatever the case may be, but this is awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate the comments, Mark. Thank you so much. That's very encouraging. And again, my purpose is to build and develop leaders for His glory and purpose, and my calling is to add value and impact lives for eternity. So I'm thankful for this forum. I'm thankful for the opportunity to do that in the morning. I can't thank you enough for making the time. It really warms my heart that you took the time to be able to be here. Okay, anything else before we close out? Any other thoughts?
Hey,
Alan,
Doug.
was it worth your time, my friend?
It always is. And yeah, I'll just piggyback on that statement. I was going to say something, then I decided I'd hold it in, but you opened the floodgates. So here comes the water. I think this group of people, it's always the same people, right? It's always Rebecca. It's always Skip. It's always Sean. You know, and like you said, it's usually a small group. And I get it. You know, I mean, I understand it's early for the people on the East Coast or West Coast and so on and so forth. And I've always hated, I used to be in a community where they said, well, you know, if your arm isn't cut off and you're not bleeding from every orifice in your body, you better be on this meeting. I don't agree with that approach. That's just not who I am. I get that life happens to people and sometimes times are inconvenient, but I would challenge this to this group, because this isn't about building an Avoria Prime business, this session that we have here. This is about building a life. This is about something so much more deeper, so much more profound. That's why I reached out to Jim Widman this morning. That's why I reached out to JP again, to get these guys engaged in this particular, session that we have, because to have someone like yourself with just incredible, the incredible ability to pour into people, someone like Skip, who can do the same, and of course, Ryan as well, who's just off the chain with his ability to interpret things, re-explain them, and maybe from a different angle. It's a shame. It is a shame that this isn't the call that we have in the community. And so I would challenge this group to start to bring as many people to this as we can, not because our goal is to build a big Avoria Prime business. And you said something that I'm going to point out here too. You said in writing your why. I've always focused on my why as to sort of what do I want? But when you said these words, I am going to rewrite the whole thing. And it says this: why am I here? Why does God give me breath? That will put a whole different perspective on my why. It'll just I can trash the other one. And so this is such valuable information to the growth of the human being, as my friend Skip likes to say, and I love that. He knows that. I echoed that on my Facebook page, which, I write on Facebook about once a month, which is horrifying, but that's what I do, and only do it when it's touching. So guys, as a group here, we need to make sure we're getting as many people into this goodness as we possibly can. It's an important session for us to truly promote out there, again, because it's Avoria Primeless, it's TradeWiseless, it's Full Throttle Forex-less, whatever. This is about life, and I think I think that's where it begins. That's building block one to do any of the other things. So fully blown away and stoked. Always am with both you guys, all of you guys. It's just great. And
Thank you.
Rebecca, you're a stud at. Don't let anybody tell you any different.
Awesome.
You absolutely are. I love how transparent you've started to become. You know, quick story to share with you. I was at a thing, an Eric Worre thing once, and there was a top income earner. And of course, that was all about building a network marketing business, which is fine. That's why I went. I wanted to see what I could catch. This guy was one of the top income earners in I can't remember the name of the company, but it was the electric bill company, ACN. Was that what it was called? Something like this. Okay, this guy had all the money in the world that he wanted, and he got up there and he started talking about having coaches. And oh my gosh, he had a coach for just about every, what I would call silo in his life, every area of perfection that he was trying to create. He had a coach, a mentor, that he compensated to because it is difficult. You're right. When left to our own devices without any kind of someone to cheer us on, to point us in the right direction when we're taking a left turn, we should be taking a right turn. Super valuable. I applaud you for that. And I've said those same words. You know, I'm just a guy who has insulin dependence, and so I'm going to be a little bit heavy my whole life. Bullshit. That's not true. That's not true. I can do what it takes. I just have to decide. So kudos to you, Rebecca McEwen.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I
Next
consider
would-
all of you here coaches to me also, just so you know. That's why I'm up every Saturday morning, because you guys have such a wealth of knowledge that I don't have. My husband's developing some because he's on his way to lieutenant colonel. So I really understand a lot of your references, Lewis, and he implements some of that stuff in our household. And you guys are all amazing. Everyone on here, I write pages and pages every Saturday. So thank you all for you guys getting up and pouring into my life.
My pleasure. Thank you all for all that. And so we'll finish it out here.